Hello, this is High Templar with my new Total War Warhammer mod review video, and today we'll be talking about Radious mod units pack and more specifically Chaos Warriors. So, as you can see, when it comes to the lords, it's pretty much the same. There are slight tweaks in stats, but nothing major. And same goes for heroes. So exalted heroes still can't get, any useful items or so. So let's start with the infantry. As you can see, the melee infantry for Chaos Warriors are like big, and we have your standard Chaos Marauders. They have pretty similar stats to unmodded one, but they great weapons and then spears. Spears is actually pretty decent unit that has more armor, more defense, but only by 2, which is strange for a spear unit. More charge bonus for some reason, but also have a bonus versus large of 12 and armor piercing of 10, whereas those guys have armor piercing of 7 and no bonus versus large. So this is a decent unit, but still Chaos do not have cheap spears like, Empire or Beastmen. Still, they do have a unit that do have spears and is not ridiculously expensive. Then we have dual wielding warriors, and those guys are supposed to be anti-infantry with their bonus versus infantry of 5. So, and yeah, they have actually 2 more damage with armor piercing upped by 1, but with those stats, with 13 less of melee defense and only 2 more of melee attack and only 2 more of weapon strength plus 5, not really worth it. I don't see them perform that well. They are not worth 600, not in multiplayer by any chance. No. Nope, just no. Then we have a decent unit. Still absolutely squashy compared to Chaos Warriors, but hear me out, it has 600 more health than the Chaos Marauders, and there is 120 of them, so nice number. Low armor, true, but still slightly better than Chaos Warriors. Decent leadership, decentish. Then we have average stats of attack, morale, defense, weapon strength, actually pretty decent attack, and decent charge runs, like your average unit. But those guys have silver shields. Now silver, this is rare because, without Radius, pretty much every unit has only bronze shields. And those guys also have Vanguard deployment, so that's useful. But if you compare them to Forsaken there's so much more armor and so much more of everything. Not really. Not really. Then we have Crimson Skulls. And they are interesting little unit because they are causing terror, are unbreakable, have zounds of health, decent armor, decent leadership, very good melee attack and defense. They are very good units, absolutely destroying the previous one on everything. So this Vanguard deployment, pretty bad deal. So yeah, those guys can be useful because of the terror. Still, if you compare them to Forsaken, they lose. Forsaken has less health and melee defense, but with so many bonuses from other stuff, it's only terror that's interesting and unbreakable. So yeah, then we have your rank and file Chaos Warriors. Those guys actually are pretty decent here. I won't talk about Chaos Warriors. I want to talk about Chaos Dwarf Warriors, which is lore unfriendly because those Chaos Dwarf Warriors, like normal warriors, should be about the same strength as Dwarf Warriors. And those guys would be, that level of infantry would have to be Infernal Guards. But let's just pretend those guys are in fact Infernal Guards. They have charged defense against all, which is very nice for a unit for this price. Silver Shields, less defense than Chaos Warriors, which is weird. They actually have more speed than Chaos Warriors. But rest of them is, you know, like decent. Are they worth 120? I don't know, possibly. If they are charged by something big, they are a decent unit, whatever you say about them. Now let's talk about Chaos Warriors with great weapons and Dwarves with great weapons. Still less armor, still more speed, which is, you know, weird. I must press that, it's very weird. But more attack and melee for very little more price. But here's the kicker. Those guys have bonus versus large of 14. So it's pretty brutal. And armor piercing, I just want to check. No, 2 less, but still. They are very good unit that you should pick instead of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Then we have dual wielding Chaos Warriors, which I don't know. I mean, they have they only cost 200 more. They do have bonus versus infantry of 8, so slightly better. Charge bonus slightly better. I'm not sure. I mean, they would lose probably to Chaos Warriors due to the lower defense and due to high armor, but I'm not sure. We have to, jury is still out. I'm not sure about this unit. Then we have Followers of Khorne, and I have to compare those guys with Chaos Warriors with great weapons. They have charge defense against all. There is 100 of them. They have more health, more armor, more leadership, more melee attack, a lot more melee defense, more weapon strength, and yeah, armor piercing steel, and only slightly less charge bonus for the price of additional, yeah, this is additional 250, but still, even if you compare them to Chaos Dwarfs with great weapons, they are pretty good. Unless you are going against large units, and you know there will be lots of large units, Followers of Khorne would be my pick, my choice, just because they are so superb. Right, then there are Skullbinders, and I would have to compare them to Halberds. So more health, less armor, more leadership, more attack and defense by large. No armor piercing, but more melee, and the large bonus is actually 16 versus, I want to say 18? 17. So pretty much the same bonus, but those guys are not armor piercing, but have so much higher stats, but they cost so much more. Probably no, not really, no. Then we have Chosen, which we know, and then we have Plague Warrior of Nurgle, and I would have to compare them to Chosen or the Followers of Khorne. So those guys have more health, slightly less armor but more leadership, slightly lesser stats but than your rank and file Chosen, but have bonus versus infantry of 10. That's 10, that's pretty big, and they have poison. So another very good unit pick, I'd say. If you can afford them, probably better, even better than the Followers of Khorne, with the poison and additional weapon strength, although if you are fighting a lot of armor, worse. But remember that while Followers of Khorne have armor piercing of 22, those Nurgle warriors have armor piercing of 13 and 10 bonus versus infantry, which is also armor piercing, so still winning here, I would say. yeah, the followers of Khorne, slightly less armor piercing actually than Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Then we have Chosen of Nurgle, and I don't know what to say. I'm comparing them to the Plague Warriors of Nurgle, and I would assume there is a mistake, because they are the same pretty much, but with such lesser melee defense and no bonus versus infantry. They are just worse unit for more expensive but worse. Then we have Ravagers of Tzeentch, and this is extremely good unit. I have trouble to what to compare it to, but I would go with Chosen with Halberds. So obviously more armor, more health, more leadership, more weapons, attack and defense by large, and they also have magic attack, and yeah, they have more weapon strength, and then in most likelihood have very similar bones versus large, 16 versus 18, but rest of it, armor piercing 25, armor piercing 28, so slightly less when it comes to the bonuses, but better in every other regard. Very nice unit indeed. Very useful in campaign. I would choose them. I would have chosen this Ravagers of Tzeentch. Then we have Chosen of Slaanesh. Those guys, I have to compare with Chosen. You know, pretty much the same armor piercing. Worth it? Nah, I don't think so. It's 300 more. So unless you are going to for eternal units, not really worth it. And then we have Chosen of Slaanesh, which are, now it makes sense. So they have bonus versus infantry, and quite big actually, 15. The armor piercing is 17, which is very decent indeed. They have lower attack but higher. Lower defense but higher attack. So, and they also have charge defense versus all. So that is extremely good unit. And let's finish that with Chosen of Tzeentch. Compared to the normal Chosen, they are just better in every way, but doesn't have any bonuses, so while I would pick them in campaign as my standard holding force, unless they will be very expensive, I wouldn't bring them to the multiplayer. They wouldn't bring anything to it. Then we have two units that are quite amazing for the Chaos Warriors, because there are nothing like we've seen before, and I want to show you their strength and weaknesses, so let's go with it. Here we have Chaos Warriors Crossbowmen. The same number of units, slightly more health, leadership, and everything is slightly better than their dwarf opposites. Slightly better but more expensive, and this expensiveness is really, it's not really worth it. They would lose in multiplayer because they would have largely lower numbers, and they would lose in multiplayer with pretty much any other range unit. But they do have very much use in campaign, and not many people play Radious multiplayer, so there's that, because they are expensive, good unit of infantry that you can use in the campaign. And the same story goes for those guys. 220 more cost, but yes, everything's slightly better, but nothing like major good. But still, they are filling a role that was missing here in the Chaos Warriors, giving you more flexibility to build your armies, because, well, you had to have Cav to counter the enemy skirmishers. Now you don't. You can have your own, which are better, just, more expensive. Then we have cav units, and for cav units there is very little difference. We have those Kurgan mounted hunters, which are nice. They have vanguard deployment, but they aren't very good against any comparable units. So, I mean, there are Centigors, right? But truth be told, you would never take Centigors. You would get Centigors with great weapons, because Centigors with great weapons are just amazing. If you compare them to your normal Centigors, those guys actually have less health, less armor, slightly more speed and attack, but much lower charge bonus. They would lose against those guys. And if you compare them with great weapons, well, armor piercing is enough. They are just not very good cav, but there is a cav that you can recruit well before Chaos Knights. So again, it gives you more flexibility during campaign. Very good. And then you have another unit. Well, if you compare to Chaos Knights, it's no comparison, right? And then we have another melee cav, not a shock cav unit, which is Blood God cav. And they are just, again, better at everything, and you wouldn't recruit your normal Chaos Knights, because those guys are better. And they are armor piercing, so this is crazy better. They might actually win against Chaos Knights with Lances because of armor piercing. I'm pretty sure they would. They have bigger stats. Their charge bonus is much lower, but yeah, this is an excellent unit. They will shred everything. Although, yeah, they would lose against... I would assume they would lose against similar unit from this roster. So, Demigraph Knights with Halberds. Those guys have, I know, might be better than the Lances, than the Halberds. Wouldn't be able to test it because AI can charge, so I know I will win in both cases. Never mind. So this is all for cav. We have additional missile cav, which is basically upgraded throwing axes. They are better at everything except for speed. They have very high armor, and they are basically like Tarentines, but way more expensive, twice more expensive. But still, they are very good. Really good. Then we have another interesting pick. So we've seen Warhounds, and if you play the campaign, you know that you have to get rid of them at some point because they are just not effective enough in your elite stack. They are not very expensive, but they are no match against Chaos Knights. So you get rid of the Chaos Warhounds and get Chaos Knights, but still missing that speed of Chaos Warhounds. So I give you Flesh Hounds of Khorne. There is less of them, but they have more health, they have a lot more armor, more leadership, more melee attack, more melee defense, weapon strength and charge bonus. They are pretty great. And yeah, there are no changes here anymore, so I want to show you a replay when I'm using some of those units. Let me just find it. And I wanted to use some of those units to their greatest potential, I feel. And this is playing on very hard difficulty against just a random army from the Empire. Actually, I reloaded it because the previous one was just not good enough. But those guys are pretty decent. They have cav, they have artillery. They have decent units, but it's not enough of them. But there is again not that many of me also. So because they have artillery, I've noticed they have artillery, I'm just going straight in. I have here poison warhounds, which I'm making attack for these outriders. There is a flock of doom on me. I'm making my general go back so he wouldn't die. Very ineffective use of Flock of Doom. It will do damage, just, you know, not that great. Those guys are trying to catch my chariots. That's not going to go very well for them. I have attacked selected units. Now my chariots are straight into them, my other chariots, and I'm retreating my chariots and going after the cannons. At the same time mowing through the Dead Hands Hand Gunner, very good unit. My halberds are chasing the Empire Knights. Those followers of Khorne are fighting against halberdiers and have huge problem because halberdiers have charge defense versus all, but followers of Khorne are just so much better, but very high difficulty. You can see that those guys have already very high melee attack and defense. If you add 12% to that, they would actually be very good. I mean, very good. Making those two units go in here and trying to flank with my halberds. At the same time trying to destroy those guys and chasing them with my poison warhounds. Those Chaos Knights completely missed me. I'm trying to fight their lord. Cycle charging my chariots in both cases, in here and here. Firing with my melee, newly found melee cav. Getting my lord outside, and I will charge him into this lord. I'm not worried about those guys, they are very decent. Cycle charging both chariots. I have one unit War Warhounds taking care of a cannon crew. My Gorbis chariots lost and speed attack, catching with my halberds, although those guys are still fresh, so that's good. My Gorbis chariot finally decided to move. They were caught with the swordman unit, so they lost an attack. Those halberds fighting swords, so I have to break them as fast as possible. Every other engagement is favorable for me, except for this one. Getting my poison warhounds and chariots on those handgunners. Those guys trying to run away. Cycle charging, so my halberds wouldn't lose. I'm cycle charging between this unit and this unit, although I will win this engagement. Already breaking those guys here. My halberds are still trying to catch the Empire Knights. Tank is fighting. I'm now retreated. Those guys are charging my Chaos Dwarf Rifleman, but those guys are tough. Even on the very hard difficulty they will hold. And my lord is winning with their lord. Cycle charging those, actually charged my Gorbis chariot into the steam tank, and now I'm going with my halberds after the steam tank. Those guys are following me, and I haven't noticed that my followers of Khorne are not following them, so I will lose quite a number of health on those halberds, and this will be their demise, because fighting on two fronts will be bad. I'm still fighting here. This guy is losing pretty badly. Those riflemen just stood there. Cycle charging here and getting my poison warhounds just to... And those riflemen are doing good number on those Empire Knights. I decided to go to lightly armored halberds units and ignoring the knights. Breaking the enemy here. As you can see, as expected, the Chaos Warriors with halberds broke, but I'm bringing my other poison warhounds which already routed the outriders into the halberds, and that should be the end of halberds. I'm also charging the Gorbis chariot and also charging the followers of Khorne here, expecting this will be the end of it, and I will won't have to hear about it anymore. Charging into those two units just to make them break decisively, and charging into those two units. However, those chariots didn't get enough of an impact, but still it was decent. Dwarves holding steel, they are very good. My lord chasing their lord, as you can see, my poison warhounds and followers of Khorne wrecking the halberds. I'm trying to get my other halberds follow the Empire Knights and also fire at them, and as you can see, those Chaos Dwarves riflemen are doing very well against Empire Knights. Very decent indeed. Another charge from my Gorbis chariot, very tired, but doing. Those guys tried to break my lord with a charge, but didn't get good enough, and they are being shot. And this is the end. Yeah, there is only 12 knights left, their lord is running, their swordmen have died, and I have lots of troops. I mean, I'm decent with health, but if you see my troops, I'm actually very good. I'm just running after those guys, those dead hands, with my followers of Khorne. And then we'll be fighting another charge, though this guy just rotated back, but I'm chasing the remaining guys with the warhounds just to keep them off me, basically, keep them on the map, keep them routing. And then we have epic fight of the steam tank. Now steam tank having pretty amazing stats and very good armor here, even higher than before. As you can see, I'm trying to fire rifles at... I got one volley, but then I decided there is just too many of my troops, and I'm just fighting every armor piercing I have on them and cycle charging them back into my troops, having a charge on them, and cycle charging and cycle charging. Those guys are still holding, they are doing amazing, and that's it. As you can see, very decent on those dead hands, very decent on those halberds. I don't know how they do it, but they did very good number of damage on my guys. I mean, I know how they do it, it's very hard. And amazing for a steam tank, but steam tank is supposed to be amazing. It costs a lot. So yeah, it costs more than twice my followers of Khorne price. I mean, not more, exactly the same, because those guys are 1150 and this is like 2300 something. So yeah, bit more than. Anyhow, those Chaos Dwarf Riflemen did very well because they were shooting Lords and Empire Knights and were a general nuisance, and those followers of Khorne, very nice kills. Do mind that was very hard difficulty. Still amazing. And my Chaos Warriors and my Chaos Warhounds with poison, as always, amazing. And Gorbis Chariots for breaking them. Yeah, so pretty nice victory, I would say. They say close victory, but yeah, balance of power was in my disfavor. Anyhow, I hope that did show you some of the units that I would use in multiplayer. I haven't used that many new units, but I did chosen this followers of Khorne and the Chaos Dwarf Rifleman. I hope this showed you their strength and weaknesses. I didn't want it to go with all the exotics one because I would probably lose. Anyhow, I hope this is it. I hope you like it. If you did, press like, comment if you will, and see my other mod reviews videos, mechanics videos, and my Let's Plays from Total War series, but also different games. Thank you for watching and see you later.